Very good morning, everyone. This is Rajendran here, joining from Market Calls, and welcome everyone to live training session on budget day. Particularly, we're going to run the live trading room on market profile and order flow, particularly for Nifty and Bank Nifty analysis. So this is more of a lively analysis, and we're going to learn how the traders are trading on a budget day and how we can convert this into a trading edge using market profile and order flow is what we are going to look into that. So first we'll try to understand what is happening right now in the markets. Okay, so what happened here is like lot of very interesting data points happened as of now, right ahead of the budget. I think by now the budget will have been likely to kickstart around 11 o'clock, and then the talk will be going on till 1 o'clock, I guess, 1 o'clock or 1:30. So more or less, a lot of media channels are going to talk about that. Market opened gap up, right? So price opened totally gap up above the last yesterday's high. Price opened above yesterday's high, a very big gap up. US market also yesterday went crazily bullish, and then that sentiment also adds up. So suddenly, morning SX Nifty was around 17,500 odds kind of levels. But then something very interesting happened as of now. What happened here is like price rallied. Since the morning, price rallied. And then right now what I'm seeing is a lot of weaker information is what I'm seeing in Nifty and also Bank Nifty. Now what in Nifty I'm seeing here is the early morning high, which is letter A period high. Notice that it is very visual. The C period came very precisely just one TPO down, right? I'm using a 2-point TPO over here. Price went just one TPO down to the letter A period high, and then it bounced back up. And D period also happens to be like exactly it was resting around the reference levels. So C and D period is weaker. And not only that, we also have a B period is also weaker as well. So the B period low, notice the B period low was resting exactly at the previous day. Today's open. Right? Today's open, it's visual reference level. C period is visual reference level. D period is visual reference level. So buyers are the one who is buying this market. But then, yes, volume flow is likely to be throughout the day. It is going to be super. Throughout the day, the volume flow is likely to be higher. But we also competing with the weaker hand buyers at B period and C period and D period. So these are the places weaker hand buyers are coming and competing. So from an intraday perspective, price can expect to come back down and clear those reference levels. Right? That odds are quite on the higher side. And this is one of the important observations which I'm seeing in. Second observation about Bank Nifty is like day low itself weaker. Notice that the day low. So day low is precisely went down and touched that's the previous day high, and that way it is like you can consider that Bank Nifty day low is weaker. So traders are the one who is dominating the markets, but ideally they are traders. So these levels usually will be breaking out at some point in time. Most likely today also the chances of breaking out is likely odds in today's case, right? So because on such kind of even days, if these kind of low is getting weaker, usually such kind of odds will be typically broken down. And so what I am seeing right now is like, yes, buyers are there, but they are more or less kind of a visual at various levels. And that is something very peculiar information to notice. That is definitely not a good information. Price is also today, it came very close to the previous week high. In fact, it broken up and then it got back in. It pulled back. So far, it is one time framing. Letter A, B, and C, and D, it is one time framing. It is kind of an attitude what traders are showing. So it's more of a trader's attitude, but ideally they are traders. We know that usually these kind of odds, typically the B period, maybe the point of control itself, I'm thinking like maybe the point of control is likely to form around over here. That is what I'm just thinking. So more price is likely to come back repeatedly over and over and again. towards the center point. Maybe this could be the center point of the day also. And the most important thing is like the volatility in the markets. Volatility in the market is going to be very huge, right? So the reason I'm saying here is like option premiums are priced up hugely. So IVs has been crazy in the current week options. So typically that is what it makes buying options in current week is not a great thing. Maybe if at all you want to buy options, you should consider buying in the next week or in the subsequent weeks. But buying current week options is always going to be a dangerous game. Particularly, the reason is like even if somebody is selling an at the money straddle. Morning, I've been looking into the at the money straddle over here. Let me pull up the tool here. Even if I'm considering an at the money option selling, right, from the seller's point of view, sellers are expecting a huge fluctuations in the markets. Typically, let me go and pull up the 3rd February here. I'll go for a straddle, selling the straddle, right? So if you could see the straddle price action, this is like almost 1,000-point range is what the straddle is indicating. So that points to what? That points to very simple, like minimum 400 to 500 points of intraday fluctuation is what we are going to see in today's case. That is going to be a likely higher odds. There's a very high odds that today we're going to see a very big fluctuation, 400 to plus 500 points, which is not quite common. Market has been already doing this for quite some time. But in the last couple of days, last 2 or 3 days, the markets are not doing that fluctuation. So here I'm also having indicators which measures the fluctuations. So this is from the high to low. On this particular day, we have almost 591 points of fluctuations. Followed by that, the fluctuation slowed down to 457 points, and then followed by 312 points, which is on the day of expiry. And post expiry, we have 300 points of fluctuation. The volatility in the market has been slowly coming down, but options are indicating that in the next 2 trading sessions, minimum 400 to 500 points of fluctuation is a highly possible scenario. That is what the options are expecting. So typically, one have to look into that, and moreover, it is like kind of a breakout failure which is still not confirmed yet, but maybe if the D period low is broken or C period low is going to get broken, we could confirm the breakout failure, which is typically not a good scenario, particularly for the bulls. So I'm expecting maybe a down move is what I'm expecting from my intraday expectation itself. Like, so I'm expecting day low to test. I'm also expecting the prominent point of control to get a clearance as well. This is what, from an intraday perspective, my expectation is towards 17,350 levels, or maybe a little bit lower also. But these are the 2 important reference level I'm watching from the intraday perspective. Yes, of course, for that, first thing is like they have to clear this weaker reference, right? So regardless of what is the outcome, whether the budget event is going to be bullish or bearish, I am seeing only more and more weaker hand traders are positioning in the markets, right? So not only in Nifty, but also in Bank Nifty as well. Bank Nifty, very precisely, they've been focusing around, and definitely this is not a good setup. So Bank Nifty itself, day low test is possible. 38,300 is what we can anticipate in a very, very shorter term over here. That means probably today we can expect 38,300 to come back and touch the day low. When it comes to the volumes has been so crazy in today's case, which is throughout the day we're going to expect this kind of volatility coming and playing in the markets. Even at the top, right, we are having a trapped buyer. So a trapped buyer is there. Typically, this kind of trapped activity, whenever the trapped buyer is there, typically they bend towards the VWAP. So price came very closer to the VWAP, just 1 or 2 TPO shy, but still not done with the VWAP yet. So VWAP is always one of the important focus level in a very, very short term. 17,545 levels, and then a little bit lower is what we can anticipate. Is it an AB elongation? Yes, it is kind of an ABC elongation in the morning, which is ahead of the event. There are times, right, when there is a huge anticipation is there. Sometimes the market will be topping out in the form of AB or ABC elongation. In fact, last 2019 election results, ahead of the election results, similar rally we had seen, letter A, B, and C, it rallied up, and then second half was like totally a collapse, is what we had seen in the upcoming 2019 central election. That's what it happened, right? So something similar to that is what I'm just seeing over here. Ahead of the event, market rallied, and it becomes like an AB elongation, and then at some point in time it becomes an ABC elongation with a lot of single prints, but then most of the single prints got a clearance over there. So far still it is trading calm. Probably the budget would have been speech would have been started now. So most of the price action will be happening around 11 o'clock, because 11 to 12 or 12:30, right? A lot of announcements is going to happen, economic announcements. So a lot of stocks are going to see jittery. One important thing is like ahead of the event now started. So very quickly, the volatility will be drying out from the markets. So if the volatility itself, it is drying up in the markets, what happened here is like, when if at all the volatility is drying up, a huge fluctuation is what it can happen, because market orders are the one which is going to drive it. We're going to trade in a low liquidity environment. Market makers typically unwind. They don't give commitments to the positions. They don't want to come and to be on the opposite side. So they consider this as kind of an even days or kind of risky days. So they reduce their business. So they will be vanishing. They'll be canceling their orders mostly, and that is what it makes the markets to go bit of wild swings, majority of the cases. So price is still nearing the D period low, which is what we've been talking about. That still it's weaker low here. C and D period lows are weaker, and it is visual also. So weaker and visual are likely to be a potential target. It's been twice they've been trading around those levels. Price is getting very closer to that, and then it's getting bounced back. But eventually, this kind of references are totally weaker from an intraday perspective. So means these kind of weaker references, it forms intraday, it usually gets cleared intraday itself. And not only that, even the B period low is also precisely the price action happened from the open. B period was dropping down, and it forms exactly at the low itself. The buyers came very precisely at the open, and they started pushing the price up. So more or less, three places I'm seeing in visual weaker information at this point in time. So what is the overall focus? Overall focus is towards prominent point of control. See, there are two things one need to remember over here. Option premiums are costlier. Option premiums are costlier over here. Option premium is costlier. It is typically costlier across the series. It is costlier only because of the budget. So we're not sure whether the IV collapse might happen or not. So typically one should avoid trading out of the money options. It doesn't matter whichever the strike price it is, whichever the expiry it is. Trading out of the money options are totally not a great idea, right? So very rarely one can end up getting an profitability around by trading an out of money options. Maybe some sort of an hedged futures or something, it might work out. Or maybe one can try with some sort of even at the money options is also fine, but definitely not out of money options. And looking from the Bank Nifty perspective, Bank Nifty had a visual reference level here. Notice that the 31st Jan high and 27 Jan high was exactly same. And not only here, even the failed auction, this high is also very precisely same to the 19th Jan. And now today, price left the low, a small trail has been left around here. It's a very tiny nuance. And then price started keep going up. Thus far, it ends up with a kind of a breakout failure, which is not a good indication. It's an IB breakout failure is what we've been seeing over here. IB breakout failure. Typically, I confirm IB breakout failure at the end of the series. I mean, end of the one time framing got broken down in Bank Nifty. So typically, Bank Nifty is poised for a day low test. So day low is itself a weaker levels. So obviously, one of the reference we can think of the day low test could be, one can think of around those levels. And not only with Nifty, but also with Bank Nifty also. And apart from that, Nifty is also having a huge clustering. So Nifty clustering, I also mark the clustering from the order flow. So here is the clustering zone. Price breaking the clustering, maybe it could lead to serious damage because it's a very big cluster. If such kind of bigger cluster, if at all it is getting broken, usually it may not break, but if it is getting broken, a minimum of 200 points of cut is what we can expect from an intraday, right? So something is what I'm just looking into that. So maximum, if this low, even if it is gonna break by 1 point, the chances are pretty much higher that severe unwinding of the longs could happen. Because morning, right, a lot of new players, morning, more buyers, they positioned themselves. Not only in Nifty, in Bank Nifty also they had positioned. Crazy positioning was there. In Nifty also crazy positioning was there. If you look, if you sum up the delta alone, you could be seeing like maybe this is like 1,000 and then 2,000 and 2,003, kind of 3,000 plus lots. If I sum up, let me sum up here. Like the very first delta is like 737 plus 1,062 plus 884 plus 1,628 plus 661. This is like first of 25 minutes. First 25 minutes, there was a strong positioning was there, right? So this kind of positioning is good typically for any rally. Positionally, it is good, but if it is getting broken, it could positionally become too weaker, right? So it could lead to crazy unwinding over here. Definitely, if price is testing day low, then one have to be very, very cautious in today's case. So now this is like with Nifty, the positioning is like kind of an 5,000 lots of positioning which happened in Nifty. Same thing goes with Bank Nifty also. Bank Nifty also, the net positioning was like crazy. Look at that, the Bank Nifty positioning was super crazy, I would say that. Like maybe I could say like, let me calculate the positioning. 2,903 plus 3,015 plus 1,342 plus 2,877 plus 1,490, right? This is what first 25 minutes of positioning. Almost 11,000 lots. Remember, 11,000 lots of positioning happened in Bank Nifty. Buyers positioned. So if the buyers are weaker, if these levels are going to get broken, if day low is going to get broken, it is definitely not going to be a very good indication. So let it be Nifty breaking the day low or Bank Nifty breaking a day low. That could be lead to a strong unwinding with a very, very higher odds, because positioning was such a, it came in a manner like it's been a deep positioning is what it happened in Nifty and Bank Nifty. But more and more weaker hands traders are one, which is right now they've been coming and competing. That is what it is. Totally not a good setup. So E period started. B, C, and D, it is totally weaker, and that is what my today's comment is also. So my comment itself, let me pull up my comment. I do post my comment regularly on marketcalls.slack.com. It's kind of a private trading community. I know most of the people who are attending here are most likely from the private trading community. So breakout failure in Bank Nifty. BNF, Bank Nifty has a day low testing odds. Nifty and Bank Nifty holds prominent point of control as a testing odds. Nifty and Bank Nifty yesterday, it had a prominent point of control formation, right? So Nifty yet to confirm the breakout failure. Still Nifty is not confirming the breakout failure yet, because it was like still A, B, C, D, E. It is one time framing. Price action was keep on making consecutive higher lows in Nifty, but D period is weaker to letter A period high, and also C period is weaker to letter A. So higher odds of breakout failure confirmation. BCD period, B, C, and D period low is weaker. This is what we could see at this point in time. All right. And talking about Bank Nifty volumes, Bank Nifty volume was like throughout the day, it's still a decent volume only. Though a couple of places volume went little dry, but overall volume flow is very good. While overall volume flow is very good in Nifty also. Nifty volume was like very heavy and it's quite decent. So as far as like a little bit of dull, boring price action is what we've been seeing at this point in time. But typically, what we can anticipate here is like maybe post 11 o'clock or somewhere around that. Post 1 o'clock is where we could see some sort of an unwinding. So for positioning, buyers are positioned thus far. And the buyer positioning, we can see it from the cumulative delta also, like 8,662 is the positioning. Probably if there is any unwinding, you could see that the cumulative delta totally get to negative. So that is a clear indication that unwinding is happening. Price action is also happening. Unwinding is also happening. Whoever positioned in the morning are likely to step away from the game with an unwinding. Still, it's very interesting that still the markets are trading calm. I'm not watching any TV channels or not even Twitter today. So my focus is primarily on the price action only, how the price action is happening and how the volume flow is happening. That is what I've been measuring since the start of the day. So it's going to be a very wild fluctuation day. Remember that. So trying with naked futures is not going to be a good idea, because futures are going to be very risky to manage the position, because just like that, the volatility in the market is also not high. Market volatility in the market is also not typically low volatility. It's going to be a crazy volatility, crazy expectations. People are having crazy, since people have crazy expectations, which is also reflecting on the option premiums, the market volatility itself going to be on the higher side only. Minimum of 400 to 500 points of fluctuation, intraday fluctuation from the high to low is what I'm expecting. And internationally, though, the VIX volatility index has been coming down, like US market has been bouncing back, which is also adding more to the bullishness ahead of the sentiment. And then the volatility index, dollar VIX, if you could see that the VIX was like internationally has been collapsing. Whereas Indian markets, still we have two events lined up. So next to budget, we are also having next week, RBI policy announcement has been lined up. But then RBI policy, like last couple of weeks, there are not much of an RBI policy is not even full. RBI policy, most of the RBI policy announcements are like kind of an it went totally neutral. Most of the RBI policy announcement previously it was like even full, but right now RBI policy announcements are not even full. But I believe like this budget we are having a lot of expectations, which is reflecting in the option premiums. So not much of a collapse over here, but not much of a shoot also. One thing you need to remember, last couple of days itself, Nifty and US markets, globally, they are not in sync. They've been doing something else. Sometimes it looks like sync, but they are totally out of sync. Day low in Nifty is not weaker. However, day low in Bank Nifty is weaker. So the banking stocks also weaker. Maybe what I'm thinking is like Bank Nifty might have the capability to go down till the end of the day. Like maybe the clustering itself, was serious clustering happened over here. Day low is weaker. If day low is going to get broken, a minimum of 500 points, more than 500 points of price crash could be anticipated. Like 500 points in the sense like a minimum of like 37,800 kind of odds, or even testing the yesterday's low kind of levels could be a possible potential target. Not only this prominent band of control, but also this previous day low also could be a possible liquidation odds is lined up in today's case. slightly bigger expectations here when it comes to Bank Nifty. And in fact, if I go and pull up the Bank Nifty straddles, right? So right now, if you want to get a fair idea how much fluctuation in Bank Nifty we can get, even in Bank Nifty, crazy volatility was there. If somebody is selling a straddle over here, let's say, which is like 38,700 kind of levels, the expectation itself, like, so you can see that the range itself, if you could see, it is like 2,700 points of that's expectation. 2,700 points. That is the range itself. 2,700 points. That means minimum of from the high to the low, right? Which I'm at least I'm expecting half of that, which is like how much? So 2,700 divided by 2. So maybe 1,300, at least 1,000 plus points of fluctuation is what we can anticipate. Maybe if at all I assume that Bank Nifty, if I assume that the bank day high has been already done, which is like 38,900 odds. So 38,900 minus 1,000. So something like 38,900 minus 1,000, which is like a minimum of 37,900, which readily comes to somewhere very closer over here. Somewhere breaking this prominent band of control. As I said, it's one of the potential target. Best case, we could be touching this or breaking the 31st Jan low also. That is something that I've been considering in today's case, kind of 1,000 points fall in Bank Nifty. Typically, we don't go for a higher bets unless we see the data points. Data points are confirming that, right? So that is why I'm just talking about it. Otherwise, I don't say like, yes, Bank Nifty will go 1,000 points fall, Nifty will go. There are certain places we had maintained a conservative positions, but there are certain places we had taken aggressive positions. Right now, we can notice that the C and D period has been broken down. Breakout failure is getting confirmed. Even Nifty is having in similar odds. So if Nifty from here, if at all I'm expecting 400 points down, minimum 17,200 is what my expectation. If provided the C period high is going to be the day high. So my expectation will be 17,200 could be one of the important intraday target. And so maybe on 400 point crash from here, and Nifty, I mean Bank Nifty crashing 1,000 points from here is what my expectation here. So once again, notice that E period low was precisely at the open, which is visual reference level. Still it is weaker. B period low also weaker. E period low is also weaker. Repeatedly, traders are getting so visually going and trading around those levels, right? So I'm not tracking any announcement, what the announcement the finance minister is going to do. I'm not going to totally not going to track about that. So, but one thing is pretty much sure, the informations are getting more and more weaker, and it is visual on the charts over here. Bank Nifty got some decent pullback. It does some selling odds over here. In fact, the C, D, and E are one time framing down, and even Nifty also, right? Nifty CDE is one time framing down. Now it's time to focus on the one time framing down itself. You can notice that here is where the point of control is getting built up over here. Maybe one or two times, maybe the price action could trade around, but eventually, since the volatility itself likely to be on the higher side, typically one have to think about maybe still E period low is weaker, right? So some other, once again, the price action could come back down and clear such a visual reference level. Price action could come back down and it could be taken down, but it's kind of a bit volatile over here. So maybe, I don't know how long they could be holding on, but eventually at some point in time, the price action has to start breaking down. So buyer commitment is here, and even in Bank Nifty also, I had monitored the buyer commitment over here. It was a very big buyer commitment. Breaking this zone, right? It's definitely not going to be a good thing. So because such a big commitment is what it has been made in terms of delta. So it's kind of a huge delta commitments has been made in today's case. price breaking such kind of commitments, definitely it's not a good idea. So far, they are into the commitment levels. Still not broken yet, but it has all the odds of breaking down because day low is weaker. Day low in Bank Nifty is weaker. If that day low is going to get broken down, that total damage could be on the cards with a very high possibility. So Bank Nifty, it's D and E, bit of liquidation, not so serious liquidation yet. Remember that this is not a serious liquidation yet, right? It means more is still yet to come. And then Nifty so far they had done with the VWAP levels, which is what we anticipated. Typically when these when there is a trap, the buyer is there, typically VWAP is what we do anticipate, but Nifty long way to go still weaker lows are the one we've been talking about here. And crazy volumes. Yeah, that is what the day's game itself, budget day, huge anticipation. Throughout the day, you're gonna see that huge volumes are likely to get traded over here. There are a couple of places volume went little bit dry, but then volatility is there. So obviously the price action is gonna entertain the traders throughout the day. Raghavendran is using what? Morning after A period went down. Can we consider this low showed negative mode? No, of course not. Like day low is not weaker over here, but definitely the other informations are weaker, right? So that is what I'm particularly not much happy about that. Sellers are not so good. That is what Arun Vatsa is saying. Yes, maybe they are not good yet, but maybe they could accelerate. The information, whatever I'm seeing right now, I'm also seeing a breakout failure over here, which is definitely not a good indication. In Nifty also, the breakout failure is what I'm expecting. Nifty, it's IB breakout failure. Kind of an intraday setup to trade towards a day low. Expectation itself, a day low touch. But day low breaking, if they are going to do, that could further accelerate the selling. So notice that A, B, C, D, E, they also balanced maybe one or two times. They could come back to this level also once again, but eventually still the E period low is still weaker despite that. So my focus is I'm going to talk only from the intraday perspective. I'm not going to focus on any positional activity as such, though I'm having positionally bearish views. Exactly, I'm taking a positionally bearish view today. But throughout the day, we're going to talk only from the intraday price action only, how the intraday price action is shaping up and what kind of volumes, what kind of commitments the traders are making, who is doing a good job, who is doing a bad job. That is the kind of activity that we're going to talk about over here. So still E period low is weaker. One of the primary reasons why I've been so glued to market profiles like these kind of visual reference level is what it gives a lot of clues about what the traders are doing. It throws a lot of market generated information. And yes, that B period low, which also got broken down, right? So some more liquidation. E period itself going like a liquidation towards the day low test. Particularly if the volume clusters are going to get broken, a day low is going to get broken, definitely it is not going to be an good thing for the buyers typically. And what is the TPO size I've been using? It's a common thing. Like I've been using for Nifty, I've been using 2 points. Every letter is a 2 points of price action. And in Bank Nifty, it is more of a 5 points of price action. So Bank Nifty, it is nearing the day low. So breaking the day low, that is going to be again and yet another crazy thing. Remember that. Day low is what we have been anticipating, but breaking the day low, it could accelerate. Next is towards the prominent point of control. And even in Nifty also, breaking the day low, it could push the price towards the prominent point of control as one of the important reference. So this is definitely a liquidation. When liquidation is there, one time framing is there, staying with liquidation is what something which is meaningful. So very close to the day low, cluster got broken, definitely not a good thing. So the cluster, you can see that the cluster got broken, unwinding it is. So look at the unwinding, 2,772. This is a classical unwinding, which is happening in Nifty. So more unwinding is what it is anticipated. And Bank Nifty, they have to break the day low. That already most of the damage has been done, but they have to break the day low to further for an accelerated selling, right? So almost very closer to the day low in Bank Nifty. So here is the level which I marked over here, which is the day low, which is a weaker reference, weaker visual reference levels. Nifty had done the damage, but so typically it is not one of good looking markets here. So even from an intraday perspective, even though if price could do any bounce back, even if they're coming back to the center point, here the early morning high, typically still it's going to be, and the day low testing odds are still possible. And Bank Nifty itself turning weaker. Bank Nifty breaking the day low, further it could accelerate to the weakness. And moreover, the cumulative delta is like saying like huge positioning is there, still a lot of unwinding is still pending. So whatever we are seeing is like a kind of a part of the unwinding process. All right, pretty much. So these kind of volatility, like crazy down move, like 200 points down move and 200 points up move, everything is happening less than 5 minutes. Remember that is the kind of volatility that we're going to see in today's case. The reason is very simple, because liquidity has been totally unwinded. Nobody is willing to give any liquidity. And because of that, there is no liquidity. Like price can jump just like that within a matter of minutes. That could be a huge jump in price action can happen. Like you'll be getting that wow feeling. Oh my God, what a move! Like that is a kind of move that you might be getting. It morning also similar moves we had seen, and right now what we are seeing is an exact opposite of that. Fluctuations could go as crazy as possible, like these kind of days. Only two things one should not do. Trading and naked futures, definitely it's going to kill the traders. And trading and out of money options, that is also going to kill the traders here. Particularly current week options, anything that we're going to trade, it's going to be difficult to make money in current week options. So I prefer to avoid current week options. So rather I shift to subsequent subsequent week options. So all the weaker levels got a clearance. Now the focus is like the clustering also get broken. We got a little bit of bounce. And then what else is going to happen? Like it's been one time framing. CDE is one time framing down. One time framing is a trader's attitude. What I could see, like whoever bought in the morning, maybe they are the one who is trying to unwind or some sort of profit booking also might happen. Like the people who already bought at the bottom, there are many people they position ahead of the budget. I had seen some strong positioning over here. So this is the place we had seen some strong buyer commitments. Maybe these buyers are right now might be sitting on a crazy profits. So maybe they are the one who might be ahead of the budget. They might be looking for an exit, undoubtedly. So still the volatility in the market is not getting over yet. At the same time, information is also not stronger for the buyers. At least buyers, the information was stronger until letter C period. But post the C period, right, the information is not so far not going good for the traders at this point in time. So otherwise, nothing much to speak in today's case. Let me know if you have any questions that I can take off. There is one question from, can I discuss open interest if possible? So we're not going to look into any of the open interest levels. Yeah, if at all we are going to look into open interest, generally we look into the monthly open interest only. There's no point of looking into weekly open interest. I had said in many of the sessions, it's a publicly available data. So trying to speculate, maybe it might work one or two times, but eventually it does more damage than it could bring any meaningful information. So particularly, I'm not a guy who could dissect the open interest information in a clear way. My expertise is mostly on market profile and order flow. However, I believe trying to decode any publicly available information is definitely not a great thing to do, because everybody have access to the publicly available information. Everyone have access to the open interest data. You open in the NS India website, people are doing their analytics. Excel, people are doing tons of analytics, right? Almost every trader who is 1 or 2 years old in the markets, or even the people who are there in the market 5 years, 10 years also, they are using the Excel sheet and they're looking into open interest. Everybody knows where is the highest open interest is. Everybody knows where there is an unwinding, or everybody knows where there is an positioning is happening. Everybody knows that, right? So there is no point of talking about that, what everybody knows, and trying to decode what everybody knows. You will end up with the same sort of results that what everybody is expecting. And the market is the one thing which never does what everybody is expecting. Market always looks like it is doing everybody is expecting, but then sometimes it does do an opposite turn. Who decides the opening markets? Absolutely traders only, right? So those who are placing the limit orders and market orders, they are the one who is going to determine where the market is likely to open. So we have a pre-market session, right? Pre-market session, what will happen? Order matching will happen. Once order matching is happen, where the people are agreeing for the very first time, where the buyers and sellers are agreeing for the very first time, that is where the opening is going to happen. Obviously, naturally, the traders and investors are the one who is going to decide where the market should open. Depends upon the expectations. Typically, it most likely depends upon the expectations mostly. So do we get any balancing over here again at E period? So I guess this is the place where the balancing is happening. So as I said, 1 or 2 times also still the price action can happen. But definitely the volume cluster got broken. So this volume cluster got broken, that too with a bigger delta. So let's see how the second half is what I'm just totally looking for, a total bearish odds totally. But until then, maybe this kind of volatility, this kind of jitteriness could be like once again coming back, and then totally second half post 1 o'clock onwards, maybe that acceleration is what I'm expecting over here in the markets. And Bank Nifty, still it is one time framing. Notice that D, E, F, G, it's one time framing. It's very early. It's been one time framing here. If it is one time framing, typically it has the day low testing odds. So day low testing odds means a prominent point of control is by any means still the focus remains towards the prominent point of control. In Nifty also, in Bank Nifty also, Nifty, the prominent point of control, yesterday's prominent point of control comes around roughly around, this is the level I've been focusing on, which is like 17,350 odds, 352 to be 350, right? 352 to be very precise, is what the expectation itself. And also when it comes to Bank Nifty, the expectation is towards the prominent point of control, which is like 38,050 kind of odds. All right, so let me pass here. That is what I want to communicate in today's session. It definitely is going to be a highly volatile. So trying to scalp or trying to look for very short-term trades are definitely, it's going to be dangerous because we never know when that crazy move, whether up move or a down move is going to happen. But whichever the way it's going to happen, it's going to be intensive. It's going to be very difficult to manage the positions from the intraday perspective. But then, yes, one still should look for an I position myself in a positional way, right? It's not, I'm not doing any intraday trades as of now, though I can do, but this kind of volatility is very difficult for me to manage. So I prefer to switch myself into positionally, kind of a bearish view is what I'm maintaining over here. Yeah, but moreover, that is my view, right? So let me stop here and I say thank you for coming by and attending the session. I hope you learned something, very interesting information. See you sometime later. Thank you.